What's up everyone, it's Scott here from WFLBC, and today I want to talk about my favorite Fujifilm X series lens. It's the one that I use the most on either of my X series bodies, whether it's my XA1 or my XT10. It is the XF 27mm f2.8 pancake lens. This lens is inexpensive, it is very, very sharp, it is small, it is light, it focuses incredibly quickly. It is an absolutely beautiful lens. It's great in low light. It's got a fairly big aperture. It's basically got everything going for it. Now, there are some nicer primes than this. All of the f2 lenses, or the Fujicrons as some people like to call them, they're definitely newer. They're a little faster. They've got aperture rings. This is, I think, the only XF lens that doesn't have an aperture ring, but they're bigger. And for me, the size of this lens, so here it is basically naked without any caps on it. It's very, very small. It's a tiny little lens. That makes up for the half a stop difference in light collecting ability of this lens at f2.8. It's one of the original XF lenses, so the fact that it focuses as quickly as it does on the newer bodies and even on the older bodies is absolutely incredible. One of my favorite combinations for this camera is to throw it on my XA1. It's a very compact setup. It's one that I shoot with probably more often than any other combination I have, just because it's so small and the results I get are absolutely beautiful. There it is right there. I did a review on this camera a week and a half ago. The XA1, again, an incredibly underrated little camera. If you own a Fujifilm X series camera, this lens should absolutely be in your camera bag. It is my most used lens by a long way. There are a couple of things that I don't like about this lens, and one of them is what I mentioned earlier. It's the only XF lens that doesn't have an aperture ring. Not a huge deal because you can set one of the dials on any Fujifilm X series camera to control aperture. Totally not a deal breaker. And to be honest, when I first got into the X series, I had the XA1 with the kit lens, which also doesn't have an aperture ring, and I just used the top dial, or no, the rear button dial combo to change my aperture. So when I got this lens, it didn't really change the way I shot with that camera. Now, when I upgraded to, say, the XF35 f1.4 or some of the zooms that I have that have aperture rings, it does change the way you shoot a little, and I do prefer having that aperture ring, but like I said, it's not a big deal if you don't. You can just use a dial on the camera. The other thing that drives me nuts with this lens, and it drives me nuts every Fujifilm X series camera except for possibly the 100 to 400 Super Telephoto, the front lens caps are absolute garbage. I say this in almost every video I make about Fujifilm X series cameras, so do yourself a favor, take the lens cap that you get with the camera and throw it in the garbage and go to a camera store. This was, I think, on Amazon or eBay, 39mm filter ring, so you need a 39mm lens cap. I think it was $8. Best $8 you'll ever spend. Pick one of these up if you shoot with X series cameras. Now, I quickly wanted to talk about a rumor that I heard recently. I read it on Fuji Rumors, which, I don't know, if you're into cameras at all, there's a bunch of rumor sites out there. There's Sony sites, Canon sites, Nikon sites, Fuji sites, Panasonic sites that have rumors and speculation about what's coming up in the next models. Now, I find that the Sony site and Fuji Rumors is usually pretty good about getting information about the next generation of X series cameras that are coming out. None of them have really excited me that much. Like, I've shot with the X Pro 2 and the XT20. I'm gonna get an XE3 coming up pretty soon to review. The X100F, I've also shot with that. They're all great, but the really big news on Fuji Rumors is that Fujifilm is planning on making a non-X-Trans sensor version of the XT20. So it will have The same form factor, oh, got my mic plug still in there, as, well, this is an XT10, but I mean, they look identical. The same form factor as this, but with the 24 megapixel non-X-trans sensor, APS-C size sensor, that will be, I believe it'll just be the same sensor that's in the XA3, which is the entry-level model of X series cameras. Now, that might not make sense to a lot of people. Like, why would they sell this perceived lower version of this camera? But if you look at the range of Fujifilm cameras, they basically fall into two categories. There's the rangefinder style, like the X Pro 2 and the XE3 and the XA3, which are their current lineups, and then the, I guess those would be, I don't know, SLR style, DSLR style. So I mean, they're more traditionally shaped, like they have a prism and a center viewfinder, so not like a rangefinder, like an SLR basically. There's only two versions in that series of cameras. So there's the flagship XT2, and then there's the XT20. Rumor has it that they're going to make a non-X-trans 24 megapixel version, like an entry-level version of this type of body. So it would be, I believe the rumor is that it's going to be called the XT200. That's a little too close to the X100T for me, the third generation of the X100 series. So hopefully the name's not XT200. I don't think that that's a good idea. But the camera itself is a great idea because the X-trans sensor, as wonderful as it is, it does have some shortcomings when it comes to workflow, post-processing, compatibility with editing software. That's a big reason that I love my XA1, because working with the raw files from an XA1 is so much faster than working with anything with an X-trans sensor, running it through extra software, different software. It is compatible with Photoshop and Lightroom. It just doesn't, it's not, I don't know. It's better, it's a better workflow without the X-trans sensor. You can argue till you're blue in the face about whether the X-trans sensor is better or not. I tend to think that it's not better enough to be worth the extra money. That's just my opinion. I love it. I love the look, but I feel like that has more to do with Fujifilm's color science than it does with the actual pixel layout and the sensor. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. If that's true, and this is a camera that they're making, I will absolutely be upgrading to that camera. It's definitely almost my ideal camera. If it has a mic input, and even if it doesn't shoot 4K, I don't really care. I will shoot 1080 with it. It'd be nice if it did shoot 4K of at least 24 frames a second. That would be nice, but again, not a deal breaker. Doesn't need to have a front-facing screen because the Fujifilm app in its current iteration solves all my issues with it in previous cameras, such as it not activating the external mic on my XT10 when I hit record on the app. I just want that non-X-trans sensor in my life, and that's just me. Maybe you're not into it, maybe you are. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about that rumor. Tell me what your favorite X series lens is. Mine is definitely that little pancake lens. It is an absolutely underrated and overlooked piece of camera gear if you shoot with a Fujifilm X series. Thanks for watching, you guys. I have picked up a bunch of subscribers in the last little while since I did my XA1 video, so welcome to the channel. Leave a comment below. Like this video if you want to see more content like this. I have a really fun video coming up that's totally not camera related, but I backed a Kickstarter for this non-alcoholic IPA out of Ontario. I don't drink, but man, I miss drinking beer, especially craft beer. So the fact that somebody has made a non-alcoholic IPA is a big deal to me, and I'm gonna do like an on-camera tasting of this stuff. That's it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.